And they need to show up here to shut down Samex.
Yeah, and if the team plays around them, remember a lot of what he had trouble with a few weeks ago was on that Kog'Maw when HTK just stuffed him. But this is a very different day now. Elise, Maokai both off the board for the Unicorns. Of course, the Zac followed through.
Always a problem for Unicorns, I love that they can't really execute an Elise comp, so they're forced to ban it away on blue side, opening up another ban for the team on red side, meaning now with Zac, Caitlyn gone, I think these are the two must bans. Cho'Gath is up for debate. Some teams do not even want to touch him, other teams still want to ban him. Very, very mixed opinions on him as a champion. Let's see if Splyce are afraid of Cho'Gath. It seems not, and they leave it open.
Now, more focus on that bottom side once again with Kalista ban, but Unicorns take the Cho.
One of the teams who wants to play Cho'Gath very clearly. We've seen Visichachi show the Cho'Gath top lane quite a few times. Fantastic games, at that crazy game with like over 1,000 damage per minute on Cho'Gath.
Add the caveat it was against the Mysterious Monkeys. Splyce is a team of a different caliber, however, still has the potential to be dishing that serious damage. 5 seconds until Splyce get their lock in. Do they want to take the Xayah without the Rakan? They do.
They do take it. It's of course been a great pick for Samex here in the LCS. Want to see what they're paired with. Tristana is the other AD carry we often look at to add mobility. I think picking Jarvan or Gragas in a first rotation on red side is super good. But there's also this third one that has appeared now, which is the Gnar. And the reason a lot of teams like to take him early is because some of his traditional counters, like at Jace, very few teams actually play Jace top lane and can execute him on the big stage. So teams kind of jump away from some of these traditional counters. But there is one man who plays Irelia.
Oh boy.
And he's hovering it right now, and it's worth mentioning because Visichachi has taken this matchup before.
Oh, and he just might do it again. But no, at the last thing, hey, it could still happen to Fischio, but instead they decide to go for the early LeBlanc lock-in. All right, he's still a chance here.
There's still a chance.
This Cho'Gath flexed into jungle.
I know we don't normally talk about the hovers, but when it is Visichachi's Irelia, then it is worth it because it actually would be a serious pick from them. They can still take the Cho'Gath top lane despite Gnar, obviously after a few items being annoying in the side lane split push. I think they're going to be fine with the Cho'Gath in that lane though for most of the early to mid game. Trundle coming in, technically still a flex pick. I'm looking at support Trundle more than anything instead of picking Trundle top against the Gnar.
Yeah, I mean that's mostly where we started to see the Trundle come back as a counter pick to a support tank. However, Splyce haven't locked in their support just yet, so it's almost a gamble, you could say.
So if they do take the mid laner here, it's obviously to avoid all the mid laners getting banned away, but there is still a world where Splyce could have gone Jarvan and banned away the Tristana, and these mobile AD carries that can actually escape a Jarvan ulti would be gone.
Right.
And Samus would be forced to play like a Jhin, as an example, and you can camp that so hard. You can shut him down in teamfights very easily. Splyce, though, they value getting the best possible matchup in the mid lane for the Taliyah. Still banning the Tristana. We have to remember, they can first pick the Jarvan if it's not banned away by Unicorns, if they want to play it.
Yeah, that is always a possibility. Now over to the Unicorns of Love. See what they decide to try and remove here. AD carry has been focused by Splyce because they don't want to get Samex on something he's comfortable with, so he might end up having to take that Jhin. Braum is banned away by the Unicorns.
All right, signaling that we might be in the Trundle support, as we mentioned, coming in. Obviously, Trundle support against Xayah. When Xayah does not have an ulti ready, the pillar is very effective against her, but she can use ulti late in the game. But that is obviously a fairly long cooldown, so I can definitely see the value in this Trundle here.
Much longer than the Trundle pillar, that's for certain. So now the last ban is on the Unicorns' love side. They stick to the bottom once again. They decide to maybe ban out something in the jungle. Yeah. They may remove the Jarvan themselves.
I mean, that's, again, I think Trashy's Jarvan is actually really good. I like when he has a pick where he can be active in the early game with some safe ganks and then also actually be impactful in late game teamfights, which is what Jarvan brings. And with the Tristana ban, I just think it makes perfect sense to go for him. Only problem is your last pick in your support, but I don't think that's too bad in this matter because there's actually a lot of support counter picks right now. Like, think about it, Morgana and so on. Gragas seems to be the choice. Can still work a little bit like the Jarvan, where it is super strong engage against most likely a fairly immobile AD carry.
And it's perhaps the most comfortable champion for Trashy, too. I think he's got more games on than just about anything, except perhaps the Rek'Sai from back in the day when those were two pretty much interchangeable champs for him. But over the Unicorn side, they elect to take the Twitch for Samex. That is definitely something he's found success on in the past.
It's a rough lane, though, for Unicorn to love it if it ends up being the Twitch Trundle down the bottom lane, and we don't even know the support from Mickey just yet. Let's see. Oh, we got a Kayn.
Oh, another Kayn. Okay, so this is looking like the Kayn jungle, of course, unless something really weird comes out.
I'm expecting the Kayn jungle. The Trundle support as mentioned. The Cho'Gath sits in the top lane, takes the matchup against the Gnar. Kayn jungle, though, there's quite a few tanks on the side of Splyce, so going for that tanky form is actually valuable for these late game teamfights. And there we get one of the support picks we mentioned.
It's the Morgana.
It is
so
locked in.
So this Trundle maybe can still help out up against the Xayah, but won't be stealing as many stats as he would from the tank support once he gets his ultimate.
Yeah, it's also like Black Shield right now, just to avoid some of the incoming crowd control from Unicorns of Love to keep Copy or Senko safe in a potential team fight. But normally when we do see the Morgana, it is against things like Thresh and these kind of champions. But I think here there is enough kind of CC on the side of Unicorns to make use of this Black Shield from Mickey. Even the chains coming in from LeBlanc, who's snowballing out of control, can be extremely effective here to actually keep your backline alive. Because if you look at this comp from Unicorns of Love, it's a lot of backline threat. Not only do you have champions like Kayn and LeBlanc that can jump towards the backline, you then have a Twitch who pops his ulti, and that ulti will most likely also reach the backline. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Senkooks and Kobe in these fights here.
Yeah, and I think those fights are definitely going to come early and often. It's just how the Unicorns of Love like it. Splyce, will they be prepared? Very important match for playoff seeding. Of course, both these teams already locked into those playoffs, so it could be a preview of things to come. One thing is for certain, when the Unicorns tangle with the Snakes, oh, there will be blood. There will be blood.
Do you see Unicorns versus Snakes often?
I mean, it is a battle of mythic proportions, Deficio. I think I can imagine how it's all going to go down, but will the Unicorns be able to dive the back line of Splyce? Will we see some answers? We're about to find out. We head on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1.
And you said before, Pyro, how this game is so important for playoff seeding. And let's just picture a potential playoff bracket right now for both these teams. If you are the team ending in 3rd place in Group B, your first quarterfinal will be against either Fnatic or G2 Esports.
You don't want that.
You don't want to play those two teams early. You want to get through the quarterfinal to the semifinal, guaranteed top 4. You get to play in Paris as well. So getting that 3rd place is just, it's not the end of the world, but it's pretty close. It's pretty damn close. Getting a 2nd place where you get to play Misfits, who's been struggling lately instead, that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's very, very important right now. And of course, it is still possible to contest for that 1st place spot, which is even more important because you can put yourself up into a situation where you don't have to play the quarterfinals at all. Obviously, if Unicorns win this one over Splyce, they're in better shape to try and knock off HJK for that spot. They'll, of course, meet in the final game of Week 10.
Yep.
But that is out in the future right now. It is all about Unicorns and Splyce. And Splyce, if they can get a win as well, that puts them ever closer to not having to face off against the likes of G2 or Fnatic. Into this game, though, it's a 5-point start. Nothing super tricky right now. Even Exile is not going to be going deep.
So instead, we are looking at the lane setups. Whenever you play Taliyah, you always have a reason to go towards the mid lane and put pressure. Because if you can actually get ahead as Taliyah and get the push in the lane, you can, once you hit level 6, start roaming and impacting the map. And that's obviously what she brings. You don't pick Taliyah to make the big 1v1 outplays. You pick her because you want to then go to the bot lane. And you want to make a play against a Twitch who's slow scaling, weak in the early game. Or Pirate, you want to go top lane where there's a Cho'Gath who's fat and slow. He's not going anywhere. You can CC and shut him down. Taliyah needs to be able to roam.
If Splyce can get that off early enough, they can definitely start to shut down some of those threats. But, we want to talk about this Kayn, though, because Xerxes is moving into the enemy jungle right now. He might be able to take away this blue buff while Trashy is away. This is a champion that can have some pretty solid impact as well. And even in Rast form, those fights, he can sustain himself up through a lot of them.
Exactly. So the Rast form, the tanky form for him, is the one that is best against these tanks because you can ulti a tank in a late game team fight. You can pop out, deal a bit of damage, but also heal. You can get so much HP back in these fights, so you want to dive in. Drop low, use your ulti, and once you get back out, you're almost back to full HP if you're onto a big tank in the late game.
Yep.
Also, the CC you do provide will set up Exile, will set up Samus, for success. So I think that is definitely the form to go for if you are Xerxes. Mid lane, Kayn is where we saw the Shadow Assassin. You get more gold, there's more snowball potential. That's where you can go for the pure lethality build.
And I think, Xerxes going in for the blue buff, gets the smite off. He actually starts on a 3 buff against Trashy. That is what you want to see, especially from a jungler who's honestly been struggling this split.
Well, again, Xerxes trying to really find his form once again, as you just said here, in the last few weeks. It's been tough. A lot of people also playing tank junglers. He couldn't really have the impact early game on Elise. They banned it this game. Stepped away from the Kane, though. Fantastic clear speed. He's looking for another steal.
Oh, he might give Trashy a real hard time right now as the smite comes down. Trashy does manage to secure them Krugs. Xerxes on level 4. He's looking to start hunting down some Gnar. Wonder backs away, though.
A 3-buff start right there, Pyre. Xerxes red buff into the enemy blue buff, and Trashy tried to mirror it, but obviously was much slower.
Yeah. I mean, well, Trashy can jump walls, but only one at a time. Xerxes is in a whole different scenario. So yeah, this is looking great right now for the Unicorns jungler. And yeah, the struggles have definitely been tough for Xerxes this split. You can blame the meta, you can blame whatever you want, but I mean, it's worth noting that this guy handily earned the Rookie of the Split title. He was a fantastic jungler in spring.
It's very, very true, but with a start like this one, where a little bit of luck is also involved, there was half a second on Trashy's smite, meaning obviously that Xerxes secures the blue buff and Trashy does not. But then you get that kind of start, suddenly you get ahead in levels and you start trying to take over the early game. And this could be the game for Xerxes to bounce back and show that dominant performance we're used to.
Yeah, and Xerxes might start to focus on this mid lane too, because, you know, you talked about Suncook's needing to roam and make things happen in other lanes. For Unicorns, Exile, he's going to always want to try to make that outplay, and if he gets some help from Kane, that's going to be huge.
Very true. So you're talking about Exile outplays. I also want to talk about the other solo laner on Unicorn side and outplays. He's a bit of trading bot lane, but the man in the top lane, this is Chachi. You mentioned him earlier already, Pyre. Like, we always have to look at him in these games. His stats are so interesting because, as you can see here, he's number 10 in quite some things and number 1 in some other things. Like, he dies the most at 15 minutes. Also gives up the most first bloods. But he, at the same time, has the best CS difference at 15 minutes. So because he plays so aggressive most of the time, he actually tends to get advantages. But he also then tends to get ganked and die and end up giving over some kills to the enemy team. So I guess Chachi and his playstyle, some good things and some bad things.
He's a calculated player, though. I mean, the man is a chess master. I think for him, giving up a couple of deaths, it's like a few pawns on the board. He always gets something more for it. I was talking earlier about, you know, the damage he was able to dish out on Cho'Gath against the monkeys. I mean, if it works, it works.
It works sometimes, and there are really other times where it backfires. Like, we have to remember, Unicorns of Love's early game is one of the worst in the EU LCS. Like, they fall really far behind in most of their games, and one of the reasons, well, you give up kills because you overextend in your mid lane, in your top lane. We've seen it time and time again. Let's actually see if Unicorns of Love in this game can get a better early game off to a good start with Xerxes.
Well, and we're still keeping an eye on Xerxes to either snowball that mid or try to make something happen up top. He made a pass at it earlier on when he went up there, but now Wonder's got level 6. He's going to have the big Gnar available, and the Gnar bar, of course, is already finished. Does he wait for this to run out and then just try to run straight up to it? He's not level 6 either, so he doesn't have normal quest pass.
It's also tricky at this point. You always got to respect the counter gank. Xerxes is constantly looking for the Raptors, sneaking his way in, putting a ward here at the Raptor camp once again. So when it spawns, he might be able to contest it against Trashy. Exile went for the sustain build in the mid lane, double Dark Seal, just to increase the HP he gets back from the Corruption Potion.
I know that build well.
The classic Singe
I am a Singe main. Okay, here comes Xerxes. He's heading his way up to that top, and he's out.
Well, that was a quick gank.
Yeah.
Was it even a gank? Does it count as gank?
I mean, he was inside of the terrain for a good 2 seconds. I don't know what that counts as. It was clearly a commitment. As Samix eats another root, Hylissang's got to be careful. As you predicted, this bottom lane matchup a little bit rough for the Unicorns right now, but being pushed in, not always the worst thing in the world when you open up an opportunity for your jungle to maybe come down here as well.
That is true, but you have to remember this tower is taking quite some damage, and soon Copy will hit level 6 as well to try and avoid a potential Kane gank. So I think Splyce are very happy with this 2v2 lane and seeing that Twitch come in from Salmons.
Yep, oh, there's the big Gnar, throws Chachi in. He's a lot bigger than the Cho'Gath right now in this game. 1 level advantage Wonder still has as he leads the minions marching in, down into Mega Gnar form, throws out the boomerang, dodging outside the range of those tower shots, and looks like that'll be the end of that as Chachi is forced under tower. But checking back in with the mid lane, Deficio, we talked about Taliyah and her need to make plays early, to go around the map. When does this need to happen?
I mean, you're not specifically in a rush because you're also against the champion on the other side that actually needs to roam around and be active on the map as well in the LeBlanc and really go for these roams here. Black Shield coming in from Mickey to stop any sort of slow on the copy. But basically, both mid laners are looking to see if they can actually reach the side lane, if they can team up with the jungler and then go and execute a gank.
Yeah, and Senkux, of course, has got his Merc Treads already, right? He's going to have some protection from Exile, but he also has a lot more mobility at the moment. Of course, being Taliyah kind of gives you that opportunity, too. No one else can really surf on rocks.
That's very true, and I do love tier 2 boost rushed on Taliyah.
Were you going to say tier 2 rock surfing?
I was.
Because technically that's true.
For a moment, I was like, could be a thing, but then I was like, you know what? It's not fun enough. And
we'll send it back to the drawing board.
I had that entire thought, even though it took me 5 seconds to say it, in my brain within 1 second. So I was actually just making that on the spot. I was literally.
That's pretty fast, man.
I just almost messed up saying tier 2 boots, so that's why I kind of paused.
Well, now I feel bad because I feel like I just called you out.
It's fine, Pyra.
Okay.
Who needs to speak English anyway?
Yeah, it's overrated.
Yeah, I mean, one day, all casting will be in Danish.
Well,
one day.
I will be out of a job.
Or you have to learn Danish. Wait,
you're probably going to be out of a job.
Yeah, you're out of a job.
I hear you talk. When I hear you like talking to the Splyce guys backstage, I'm just like, I should understand this, but I don't.
Yeah, you really shouldn't. It's not even a real language. That's the problem. We just kind of mumble some words and then we nod at each other and smile and be like, yes, I understand you.
Okay, good. It's not just me then. All right. Down the bottom lane, Samix, Hylissang continue to be pushed back. There is
look
a
at that roam, Pyra.
Disadvantage here, and here comes Trashy. Samix at half his health. Might need to use those summoners. In fact, Senkux is coming to the party as well. Comes in for the flash and dash. Samix immediately healing and flashing away. Teleport coming down in for Vizichachi, but the Trundle looks to be first blood. Given over to Senkux right now as Mickey X tanks a few extra shots. Senkux going forward for a few more rock volleys.
Meanwhile, top lane at the moment, Xerxes is hovering around Wonder with almost full HP, but there's a feast on the side of Vizichachi. Let's see if anything happens before we talk about that bot lane play.
Looks like they're getting ready to commit to this dive. Of course, he sidestepped the vision, being able to go through the long path into the jungle, so Wonder might be baited into a false sense of security. He hops. There's the cooldown, and in comes Xerxes, bringing the minions right behind, and they are going to pincer on, but Xerxes is the one taking the tower shots. Doesn't matter. Umbral trespass, and he is out of there with Chachi getting the nom on.
Very, very smart that Xerxes tanks the tower first to then reset the aggro, get some training in the mid lane as well, but that was just a good cross-map play from Unicorns. First was Splyce though, going to that bottom lane. They really wanted to get more than that one kill here, but Sammax actually stayed alive, and so did the tower. Sure, they got Exile's teleport, which is another small win, but when you invest this 4-man roam to the bottom lane, you really want to see the tower fall. Let's see what actually happens. Trash ends up going in with full combo. Didn't even get to see his ulti. No one actually ended up really being under too much threat other than the poor Trundle.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really nice play by the Unicorns. Not only survived that, but then, of course, to answer at the top, as you were saying. Get to see the extended replay at the end of it all. Xerxes clearly taken to this cane, and even giving the kill over to his top laner. So as it stands right now, we're dead even on the gold. Of course, it's just kills traded back and forth.
I got it correct. And real quick, we did, of course, get Trash's ulti flying out. It literally just knocked the guy straight into the wall he was already standing at, so that was obviously why. It didn't look that impactful, but helped with the damage.
That's fair.
Came in and when he did the combo, because he threw the ulti first and then body slam flashed after to make sure no one could flash away instantly.
Yeah, I mean, critically, Samix was the one who got away from that one. Even if Hylissang died, sometimes support needs to do that. Uh-oh, he's rooted. And in comes Senkux throwing some rocks, and he gets a kill. Number 2 for himself right now as they throw Hylissang back towards them. This time, it's going to be Splyce looking to finish this tower, and Trashy's not going to let Hylissang get away. He dodges, but back to the tower. The barrel pops him right into Mickey X, and Kabi is throwing the feathers out, but Mickey gets the kill secure at the end of it all. It looks like Splyce is well on their way to the first tower.
And we're getting the roams we wanted from that Taliyah Pyra down to the bottom lane again, and this is the problem for Unicorns of Love. When they draft this Twitch Trundle lane, they're gonna get pushed under their tower 24/7. If they don't leave the lane and try and lane swap, they will just get killed like this. Mid lane.
Speaking of, Senkux, tries to predict where Exile's gonna go, but he doesn't walk that way. Instead, they just settle for the trades. A barrier burnt, but nothing more.
And so often, Pyra, we would see Unicorns of Love lane swap away from a bottom lane like this one. After the 5-minute mark, they just leave. They want to go top lane, trade turrets, and not risk this, you know, kind of setup where you can actually just get ganked multiple times. But they stayed bot lane. Twice we saw Senkux show up. He's now picked up 2 kills for himself. They get this bot lane tower and even defend the top lane. So it's a 1,500 gold lead suddenly for Splyce. You see it again, like, there's really nothing you can do once you've committed to stay in this lane as Sammax and Hylissang, because you will just constantly get ganked by 3 to 4 to 5 members. And your team is not going to be able to help against these dives every time.
No, it's a little bit rough right now. And yeah, Hill is saying, I mean, nice dodge, buddy, but can't really do much else there. I'm not sure why he spent Flash.
I don't know if he thought he could maybe try and trade a kill or something, but he did dodge the binding at least.
Yeah.
I think saving it is probably better, but there's also a world where we're trying to buy time for Chachi to actually kill the top lane tower.
I mean, it is worth comparing and contrasting Splyce and Unicorn's AD carries because they both have been fairly instrumental. But Kabi, especially on the Xayah as well, he's actually looked pretty good.
I think both AD carries are really good in late game teamfights. I think there's an edge for Kabi and Mickey in laning phase, but also because they pick more for the laning phase. But later on in the game, like most teamfights, Unicorns a lot rely on Samax to be the main damage dealer. Like Exile often is a distraction, trying to just be as annoying as possible in fights, while Samax is the man who just opens up from, you know, either Twitch stealth or comes in from the flank. We've even seen that a few times with different AD carries, and then suddenly he turns the fight around in favor of Unicorns.
And it's looking like it's likely to be one of those familiar situations for the Unicorns. They find themselves in a mid-game deficit here. Down 2,500 gold, and would you look at that? Splyce with their newly acquired Rift Herald, they're going to lead the minions charging straight here, and Hylissang might be here. I don't think he's going to be able to do a whole lot. The rest of Unicorns have to mobilize if they want to defend this.
We're still alive for now, but it's taken a lot of damage. So this again been the classic Unicorns of Love early game, where they pick, you know, a losing lane, like just Twitch here. They have to sacrifice it early. They didn't get a lane swap off, so they lose a tower and fall behind. And it's up to Splyce now to show that they can actually snowball this game, because we know once Samax hits the 2 and 3 items, that Unicorns a lot will look for these big team fights. And as we've seen from a lot of teams in Europe, if you then start messing up around Baron or a wrong tower dive, Samax picks up 3 kills, and then suddenly Unicorns a lot are right back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the power of the Twitch and the power of Samax as well. So we want to see as it gets closer and closer. Right now, obviously, he's just sitting on the Cutlass and just kind of working his way towards his items. So, you know, that we need a little bit of time, obviously, but I think for the Unicorns, they're more than happy to try and buy that time for him, because there always will be the late game team fights.
We're also seeing Xerxes just spending a lot of time with Chachi, trying to always see if they can tower dive Wonder, and just like kill him early. They're going for him again.
Yeah, he's going to get the hop. He gets the double over the minion, and actually, Xerxes and Chachi are foiled right there. Nice play by Wonder.
Little bait, buying some time. So Xerxes actually stopped his recall, and this means now the top lane will get pushed in by Kabi and Mickey. They can roam to the mid lane, where this tower is fairly low. Sadly for them, Senkooks is not there just yet, but that is really the objective for Splyce. Push top lane with AD carry support, move them in towards the mid lane, set up vision in the enemy jungle, and then you will get this tower. Eventually, Unicorns will have to give it up or risk it dying because they don't have any control on the top side of the map. That's exactly what Splyce are doing right now. They were just waiting for Senkooks to return from base.
Senkooks not had too much trouble, doing exactly what he needed to in this game. Starting off well, but getting that pair of dives onto the bottom side. I wonder where he goes from here. Obviously, the mid lane is the priority at the moment, but is he going to be a big side lane threat in this, or are they going to start to look to team fight with him as the game goes on?
I mean, you team fight. You don't actually just keep Taliyah as like a pure split pusher. You use her ulti, of course, to apply pressure on the side lane, and she can go and push out a side lane and then join the team. But a lot of Taliyah's value, in my opinion, in this matter, is actually in team fights. She's really good against a lot of these big tanks because you can knock them back into all your damage here. Let's see mid lane power.
Speaking of knocking, whoa! Visit Chachi takes a big bite out of Wonder, and he gets knocked right back into the tower. Meanwhile, there's a fight on 2 fronts with Kabi Mickey dealing with Samax. The rest of the Unicorns right in the middle, though. They are very comfortable in this environment. This is their natural habitat, the mid lane.
Yes, the classic Unicorns love mid lane. Xerxes spends so much time around Chachi. It allowed Chachi to hit level 11 here. He's strong for these fights, and good old Cho'Gath feast. I guess if you're on minion now who's already low next to him, you will die. Samax might get caught.
Yeah, Senkooks building the wall, and he knew exactly where that Twitch was. Flash for flash, followed through. He's trying to dodge, though. Very stealthy. And it looks like he's going to make his way away. That was close.
Oh, Samax, yeah. Walking away, even saving the heal. Unicorns did lose the mid lane tower, but then returned some damage in this bot lane tower here.
Chachi's getting big.
He is getting very big on this Cho'Gath, and just a quick reminder, the last time he was very big on this Cho'Gath, as we mentioned a few times, over 1,000 damage per minute, won every fight basically for his team.
Adjusted damage per minute, by the way.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that accounts for when he is able to do that.
Very, very impressive. Let's see this TP from him here after they already killed the mid lane tower. Wonder, sadly, ends up actually overstaying. Could probably just walked out. But then suddenly Cho'Gath shows up behind you and you just get feasted.
Yeah, Black Shield, not so good against true damage.
No, very true. Very true. Not gonna help you.
All right, so settling things back in here. I mean, Unicorns are still clearly in this deficit. But of course, they have themselves a Mountain Dragon. They have themselves a lot of kind of scary late game threat between Samix and Chachi. And, you know, as you mentioned, yeah, Exile hasn't really snowballed in this LeBlanc, but that is not his goal. He is the guy that is just going to be really annoying and distracting, and if he can delete somebody, he will, but he doesn't have to.
It's always kind of the thing for Exile, and whenever he gets to play these high mobility champions, he ends up actually dying way less in the early game, and then while he's just 0-0-0, obviously that is way better than him giving up a few early kills and then putting his team even further behind. So by him just wave clearing mid on a mobile champion and just avoiding ganks but not going for any fights, it actually allows Xerxes to play more aggressive on the map because he no longer needs to constantly respect the enemy mid laner because his own mid laner is either dead or pushed down to his tower. So the Talon worked wonders for Exile. There's LeBlanc here. It's been fine, just farming. Obviously, it's a problem that the enemy mid laner goes bot lane and kills your bot lane, but I mean, you're picking a Twitch Trundle, so you're kind of asking for it.
Yeah, but they're putting a lot of the kills on who they need to right now. 2 on Visit Chachi. He's able to pick himself up the bottom tower, so that's the first for the Unicorns. Start equaling out that gold lead just a little bit. And obviously Splyce is pretty thick around this map, especially towards the mid lane, investing in a lot of vision. They want to make sure the Unicorns can't get a jump on him.
Unicorns also like to send Samix to side lanes to catch up and farm if he's slightly down after the laning phase. So they're doing the same now. They're going to give up this Mountain Drake and try and get the top lane tower in return. Should be a fairly easy tower for him to pick up. And Splyce will take the Mountain Drake and use that to set up this Baron here in the near future to keep the pressure on Unicorns a lot, because you want to force fights right now before this Twitch actually gets much stronger.
Yeah, and he just goes back. He picks up the Zeal just like that. He was sitting on about 1,500 gold after his Blade of the Ruined King.
Wait, he didn't take top tower?
No, they did not secure the top, but the minions might just do it.
Let's see what the tower is actually on right now. There's a big wave, you're right. Tower is very low, so they should be able to lock it down.
And yeah, and for the Unicorns, I mean, they're never that uncomfortable. You don't want to be in a deficit situation, but the Unicorns find themselves in it a lot, and they still manage to take these wins. And you can see that win rate when they are behind, because it just does happen so frequently.
The only problem for Unicorns is it's often focused on then the enemy team with the gold lead actually making mistakes. And that's, it's obviously like you can argue for one thing, which is Unicorns a lot will outplay you in late game team fights, and then you can also turn around and say, well, they don't always have to do that because the other team just makes a massive, mistake around Baron or something, and Unicorns get like this free pass to get back in the game. I think it's a mix of both, but I think we have seen that other teams in Europe can definitely beat Unicorns in late game fights if they have the composition to do it. I think in this game, Splyce do have a very strong late game, but Unicorns a lot, they really shine there with the Twitch.
Yeah, and Exile, he nearly got his first kill of the game. He's still a very potent threat. As far as damage dealing goes, Samix was looking for an opening, wasn't able to find it. Yeah, the Unicorns definitely try to take advantage of opponents' mistakes, and if you do commit 1 or 2 of those, they will be right there to try and punish. We know Splyce is definitely not immune to it. They've had some problems in recent weeks. Just take a look at their H2K series. No,
100%. It's actually why it's a little bit scary for Splyce that they have kind of lost a bit of the map control right now after being up 3 towers to 0 and a 3k gold lead. Then suddenly Unicorns had that low top lane tower. Chachi killed the bot lane one because he's extremely fed on Cho'Gath right now. And it suddenly feels a lot like Unicorns are right back in this game, and they're just waiting for Samix to get more items and then start winning team fights.
Yeah, just a waiting game, of course, but in the time that's still happening, Splyce is not completely getting weaker either. Trashy does get pillared, but he's able to walk the long way around it. On the other side, of course, of the AD carry equation, Hobby, he's got a Phantom Dancer. He's going to be nice and safe and secure, and more can be said for him than can be for Hylissang, because down goes the Trundle. And now 5-man Splyce squad, they're on the mid lane.
Nice pick right there from Splyce. There were so many wards, and Hylissang just walked over every single one of them, all alone in that mid lane, and just got caught out.
We've seen that a few times.
That happens quite often.
Hylissang does not always respect enemy team vision.
This is the kind of thing you can use as Splyce then to try and say, okay, what can we do? Is this just a full reset from Splyce where they won't lose anything? That's fine. Get all your control wards, start setting up around the Baron vision and see if you can actually force team fights against, still this 1.5 item Twitch. Seems like they just went for the full reset after getting the kill. Spend all the gold they had, and now they just need to go back and defend his mid lane tower with Senkooks.
Yeah, now they're on the mid. Senkooks is going to have to flash away here, and I don't know if defense is going to be possible any longer. Chachi on the front. No, they do manage to get the pushback. A few more threaded volleys mean that Unicorns can't get it done with the minions they had at their disposal. Wonder rejoining the mid lane. Splyce They look to collapse around here, but they're trying to play on all 3 lanes, and Unicorns seem to be pretty single-minded in what they're trying to do right now.
I mean, they really want to kill that last tower. And then it's a wide open map where it's just all about 5-on-5 team fighting against each other. Chachi in the mid lane, Pyra.
Oh boy, it's the knock-up. Not going to happen. Flashing forward, Hillsang with the pillar and instantly exhaust down. Can they turn the fight? No, the big Gnar is distracting them as he gets 3 into the wall. Chachi going forward with the eat. Feral Scream to finish the kill. Meanwhile, Xerxes finishes off the Mega Gnar. And Trashy and Mickey, they're scattered to the winds. Exile splitting the uprights with the double chains. But it's not going to matter. Unicorns open a can of hurt. There is a big barrel, though, that Trashy's not going to back in, and he gets a belly bop for the shutdown. Good outplay there, and that Carnage will settle for the time being. I think Unicorns will claim the prize, though.
They will get the mid lane tower, so they try to even out the gold here, but all Unicorns did there, they saw Xayah sitting in the top lane, and they're like, well, okay, she's top, she's not going to join the fight, and then they just rush straight at Splyce in the mid lane, knowing there was no flash on Senkooks from before, and they end up getting quite a few kills, but obviously Trashy, in the end, returning the favor.
Yeah, and so, this was without that big multiple item Twitch just yet, too.
That's true. I mean, right now, Xayah's top lane, so Splyce really do not want to step forward in this mid lane. They just want to sit as far back as possible, but as soon as they just overextend a little bit, instant engage from Unicorns of Love. Chachi, of course, on the Fed. Cho'Gath getting the kill. Xerxes getting one as well. And then now it's actually all on Trashy, just making a very nice outplay. Otherwise, this would end up in multiple kills for Unicorns and a mid lane tower and nothing in return for Splyce. But big plays right there from the Gragas.
I would say Chachi got a little greedy there. Just a little bit.
Outplay by Trashy. He's trying again.
Nice pillar. That could have been real bad right there. Although Chachi's still taking a lot of damage, lands a big rupture. He is rooted in place, and Exile's going to tag his way in, looking for Kabi. There's the Featherstorm, and Xerxes is right behind, and he goes in. Looking for one kill. The Umbral Trespass is on to Trashy. Kabi's still alive until Xerxes takes one more Reaping Slash to the back of him. Now Trashy, he picks up Hillsang on the back of that one, but it's a double kill for the Kayn. And Xerxes starting to look big this game. 3-0-3. It is 6-6 in total kills. And the ARAMs keep coming.
Yeah, it's just tons of fights in the mid lane. Unicorns of Love, they win another one. We just talked about how it felt like this game was just even when Unicorns of Love were down in gold because Splyce didn't really have a lot of pressure on the map. And suddenly Unicorns, they find fight after fight. And Chachi's not done.
They keep on doing it. Now Trashy, he gets cut off by Xerxes, a little low on that health bar. He's got to be careful. The rest is Splyce. They've slipped through the fingers of the Unicorns, but Unicorns of Love are content to be able to push them back right now. Infernal Dragon spawning in a few seconds. That should be a pretty hot contest on this map.
Is this game slowing down for a second or not, Pyra? Is that
I mean, it's really hard to tell. We're going from 60 to 59, maybe.
All right. Let's see the replay. So Trashy trying to see if maybe he can catch either Chachi or Hillsang here, but didn't really seem like he actually wanted to fully commit when he did jump in, and now suddenly they find themselves in a top position where there's multiple guys flanking onto Kabi, and the front line of Splyce is gone. It's not even there. Wonder was on his way, Trashy was on the other side of the lane, and Kabi was just the target, and then Senkooks follows. And when you are running with double tank, you need the tanks in the front taking the damage, and not the enemy carries like Kayn and LeBlanc just reaching that backline. As we talked about in Champs League, Pyra, Unicorns of Love have so many ways of reaching Senkooks and Kabi in these fights, and they were always trying to do it in every single team fight.
And unfortunately, they just didn't have enough tools on the Splyce side to try and contend with all of that backline threat. And also, the front line wasn't bad either. You saw Chachi was basically stopped for days there, and he just sat as a meat shield, tanked every feather from Kabi, and didn't even blink.
I'm going to try and squeeze this in now because they might not be fighting for at least a second. Ardent Sensor on Trundle. You might be at home thinking, why on earth would he do this? This doesn't make any sense. His keystone is Stoneborn Pact. When he pillars someone, he marks him with the Earth and Rune, and you can actually heal by hitting these champions. And that procs the Ardent Sensor. Meaning then when Samax is sitting there and he hits someone who is marked by Hillsang and his keystone, well then the Ardent Sensor suddenly works for Samax and he actually gets the full benefit. It's obviously also because Ardent Sensor is insanely broken.
I was going to say, now we all know how busted that item is, so now it's even better for the Unicorns of Love. And once again, the gold lead still in Splyce's favor technically, but it's not really going to matter if Unicorns can keep finding these fights. Exile looking to go in, dodges out the Dark Binding. Decides maybe he doesn't want to fully commit right now. And the wall comes crumbling down.
I love that you add the right now. It means in about 5 seconds, they do want to fully commit because this game is going to be pure team fights. I'm going to say about every second minute, we're going to have a new fight starting. Okay, 2 minutes from now.
Yeah, we'll start the timer. And while we're in this relative downtime period, I want to take time to call out Unicorn Dad because he said they were going to play perfect macro for 53 minutes.
I mean, so far, running mid lane,
avoiding fights,
has actually succeeded for Unicorn Love. Yes, the avoiding fight part is where he lied, because I do believe Unicorn Love have forced about 5 fights so far in this game, and we are not even close to the, what was it, 57 minutes?
Yeah,
he said.
Well, we're 53, but we are really close to that 2-minute mark that you suggested they were going to be the next fight, and it might just be around this Baron pit. Of course, Unicorns of Love, they always want to bait this one out, see if they can get a fight out of Splyce. You get the 50-50 though, there's always the possibility of that smite steal away. Pillar on for Trashy. Most of Splyce still sticking it out in this mid lane. Of course, they have sent Wonder down to the bottom side to get the split push on. And
just remember again, this pillar here, it counts as CC that procs a Stoneborn. So if someone had hit the Gragas right there, it would have then actually applied a heal, which would have procced the Ardent Sensor. So that is again the value behind it. I remember seeing it for the first time being like, why on earth is Trundle building Ardent Sensor? Like, what is he doing? But it actually makes sense when you look at his keystone.
Dug deeper into it, yeah. Of course, he's not the only one that's going to be able to sustain quite a lot. Visit Shachi. He has the adaptive helm to complement his gargoyles as well as that Righteous Glory. So he is not only big, but he is running straight at Splyce. They want to fully commit to this fight. Featherstorm comes out, but a 2-man rupture. The barrel, it just knocks them into Splyce. They're perfectly happy with this one. Exile, maybe not so much. Wonder on the back line, but he's only Mini-Gnar right now flashing, and this is getting Jesse. Shachi trying to tank up the rest of Splyce, but he can't do it forever. Kabi finally finds 1 kill, and Exile, he's going to get knocked and bopped. Splyce find the fight.
Was that within the 2 minutes? Almost, at least.
Just about. I'll give you a pass for that one to fish out. Whoa, the Gnar! And Xerxes wasn't expecting that one. Wonder he wanted to go on forward, but did he bite off more than he could chew? The Umbral Trespass? No, he is going to stay alive by the skin of his teeth. The poison's not enough to finish the Gnar.
Oh, still alive here, but that actually bought some time for Unicorns. The rest of Splyce were already looking towards the Baron. Wonder wanted to kill the jungler, and then they could actually go and secure the big objective, but now they all have to recall after this team fight here. Simply means that no one gained a massive advantage, and we'll get a few more.
Only a few more fights, and here's how this one started once again. Splyce 4 members in.
Let's see, so Samax ends up opening up on Mickey, which is fine here for Splyce, because they actually know where the Twitch is now, so they can go in and try and lock down multiple members on the side of Unicorns. Good binding from Mickey onto Exile, keeping him in place, and now everyone from Unicorns of Love are kind of split up here. Some are turning for Wonder. Chachi's left alone in the front. Exile right there, rooted once again, and couldn't actually do anything. And Trashy ends up getting the kill here in return. But then I think Wonder just wants to kill the jungler before going Baron, and it did kind of backfire for him. But they're rushing Baron now.
Yeah, they've got a Mountain Dragon. They can do damage seriously fast.
Xerxes here.
Xerxes, can he get the steal off? No, he's not. The binding is there. He's got flash. He's gonna stealing it away. Might give his life for that one. Hashtag worth. And he's out. See if he can make it out one more time. No, knocked and bobbed, shut down goal, but it doesn't matter. Samix opening up on the backside, inside this pit. Those health bars are low, but they're not gonna be down. Wonder sacrificing himself, eaten up by Visit Shachi.
It keeps happening.
2 for 2, man, and they got Baron on the Unicorn side.
We just got one of those fights where suddenly it looks great for Splyce, but then Xerxes, despite getting interrupted with the binding, he flashes in, gets the Baron. Samax opens up as well from the flank, all alone, picks up a kill. And now they're pushing for this mid lane tower.
I'm telling you, man, Des didn't believe it, but Unicorn magic. There is always something about this team. You can put them in a bad situation. They can win a bunch of fights. They'll still somehow find something crazy. And that gigantic Cho'Gath to Visit Shachi is showing no signs of slowing down. He's got 10 stacks here, and here's where Xerxes got the big steal off.
It's another great binding from Mickey. Trashy did have his ulti. If he could have maybe used it to knock Xerxes further away before he had a chance to flash into the pit. This could have worked, but it ends up backfiring, and Samax over there on the Twitch. The classic one, close your eyes, just shoot whatever's in front of you, see if you get a kill.
That's why they call it spray and pray for sure.
That is definitely why we call it spray and pray.
I mean, that could have been a very different fight had Xerxes not gotten the Umbral Trespass off and then distracted the rest of Splyce. And yeah, look at that.
The flanking Twitch with 7,000 damage. Classic.
Well, that pretty much sums up the Unicorns.
All right,
Splyce, though, they're on the back foot right now, and for the first time this game, I think they don't have the gold lead. It's slim, 200, but Unicorns, they don't never really care about that gold. They just keep on fighting.
Another cool thing with the Black Sheep for Mickey is, of course, able to also block silence and everything, making sure Kabi never really should get caught out in a fight. I don't think he's really been, caught out in this game. I think actually he's been doing just fine. But Splyce as a team and Unicorns Love as a team, funny enough, have just been battling it out. No one, has been underperforming. If you look at the players, we can just say that all 10 of them, they're ready to just constantly team fight. And if you lose this game, well, you can blame all 5, not a single member.
It's definitely one of those games the team's just going to butt heads, and in the end, whoever's stronger comes out. But right now, it is starting to look like those Unicorns. This may very well be a playoff preview, though, Deficio. Of course, it's still very important for seeding. Unicorns, of course, they can catch up to H2K with the first place. It makes it easier if they get this win. They later face off against H2K in week number 10. Of course, everyone will have to go through Vitality Monkeys a couple more times before that all happens. But we're still in game number 1. For 8 to 10 kills, this has been an incredibly back and forth set of fights. Xerxes finding out the control ward, clearing it away. Now, Splyce are forced back within their own base inside the confines for the time being, as Exile getting split push on. 30 seconds still of the Baron buff.
That's always the thing with Unicorns of Love when they play. Like, they can be some of the hardest games to cast because you have to just constantly look at team fights and think what's happening, who's doing something great, what's going wrong. And sometimes it's easier with a slow game and you just talk about 1-3-1 and that kind of stuff. And then you get like just 10 team fights in a row where you have to constantly look at all 10 members. Like, that is hectic. It's hard as a viewer, and it's obviously hard for the players as well, because you can't mess up a team fight. If your style is built around winning team fights, well, then you got to be able to execute them.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you one thing, Deficio. There's one way to kind of make it a little easier to cast that, and that's spend a year casting the LPL. That's how I got prepared for the Unicorns of Love. That
is definitely true. Very, very true. And I think also, like, for a play-by-play, like Unicorns of Love games are often the dream, because you just get a ton of big team fights where you can go crazy.
Oh, the Unicorns go crazy too. And credit to where it is due, because Splyce have been able to find these openings, which is difficult against a team that kind of thrives in the madness that Unicorns do have. They're going to pick up some more sustain for themselves, however. That will be the Ocean Dragon, taken by the duo of Xerxes and Hylissang. And Xerxes has had an impressive performance on this Kayn, and there have been question marks about him in the summer split. It's nice to see him finding something that fits him.
Yeah, and the Kayn here, with his Rast form, in these team fights here, it's not like the Shadow Assassin where you have to go in and find a single target and try and kill him or you're useless. Like, a lot of what he's actually doing is he's obviously applying some CC with his W, but he's actually a bit of a kill threat against squishy targets. And if you ever get him low enough, he will just ulti onto a tank and get a ton of HP back. He has the Spirit Visage as well to further buff that part. And it just makes it really hard to actually kill him in fights. And then with the Black Cleaver, he's able to shred some of these tanks here and just even set up his AD carry for even more success.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of fills the same role in this game that Exile does, just being a distraction while, Samix and Vizichachi are the ones getting in there. And yes, Chachi, of course, is that full tank. He's got the Randuin's Omen, but he do damage.
Yes.
He do a lot of damage.
That is always the thing about Cho'Gath. If you let him go to the late game, he will be a massive threat. One of the reasons some teams don't like him is because it takes so much time to get there. You can gank him in the early game, but this game here, Trashy did not visit the top lane often. He didn't try and shut down Vizichachi very early, and we saw Xerxes play around Chachi and actually get some kills on Wonder, tower dives, and it really benefited this Cho'Gath here, that he was just able to free farm the entire lane and even pick up an early kill. And we see the result of this is a level 17 massive Cho'Gath with 4 fully completed items, ready to one-shot someone.
Yeah. And I feel like if Splyce wants to survive that kind of fight, they're going to need to be able to pick off. The Chachi's not going to be the one they're going to get fast. They need to be able to pick off Samix to start things off, and it's going to be difficult.
I like this.
Yeah,
I like
a lot of stacks.
I like when we see the Elixirs come in as well. Elixir of Iron here onto Vizichachi.
Even bigger.
Even bigger, obviously. A lot of benefits for him. Even brings some tenacity now for him as well, so it's even harder to lock him down. And I think it's really smart to do it even before full items, because it is such an impactful elixir for tanks that is actually fully worth the 500 gold you spend on getting it to just get all the bonus stats from it. And at this point in the game, every time Chachi goes back, if the elixir is about to run out, he should just buy a new one. It's actually so valuable for every single teamfight they're going to play.
And he doesn't need a spot for it either, because he can keep himself just buying those wards, give the team a little bit of vision. And also, like, another thing that'll get him even bigger, when he pops the Stone Plate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's getting everything to make his character large.
The one shot is happening.
Oh, yeah.
We're just waiting for
definitely.
someone to walk next to Visachachi in the team fight.
And goodbye.
And then they will die.
Also, Samix right now, like he's got the 3 items. He's working his way towards his Lord Dominic's. Of course, on the other side, Kabi, he had the Mortal Reminder. He's kind of key, I feel, for Splyce to try and shut down some of these UOL members. But if Samix doesn't step out of bounds, I feel like that's going to be nigh impossible.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, the Splyce have to just rely on Talia and Zaya kind of kiting back and trying to kill the front line.
Force the flash out of Mickey.
And Mickey instant flash right there. Trundle in these late game fights with the pillar is super impactful as well. And Exile.
Yeah. Man, this just doesn't feel fair. How do you fight against Godzilla?
You just hit him enough times, and
Yeah.
at some point he will die.
That's rough. All right, Pillar, once again, Trashy. He's able to dash over it. Xerxes still hunting. No tower to fall back to here for Splyce unless they want to get back into their base. Remember, their minions pushing in the top. There's a wave crashing in the bottom. Unicorns of Love, they own this map right now, and they might have eyes for Baron, but this would be a 50-50. They need to bait Splyce into a fight first.
Pillar Sang always checking first. Remember, the Pillar will not give him vision in the brush when he uses it. It was removed, I believe, a patch or 2 ago. Baron is started. There's a feast on the side of Unicorns and the Smite.
Yeah, Trashy, he wanted to go in, turn back around. He's going to need to find an angle in fast right now, but Trashy, he's being pushed back, interrupted, no chance to contest. The Baron gets eaten, but they might lose Hillisang for it. He's staying alive. Somehow, Wonders on the backside, but all of a sudden, the Splyce members, there's nobody left.
The flanking
shutdown. Samix gets the kills. He gets shut down, but it doesn't matter. The rest of Splyce are dead. It's only Wonder left up, and Xerxes is going to see to that very quickly. The Meganar is coming, but Xerxes, he does not care.
He just wants to stop the recall from Wonder here while the rest of Unicorns are pushing for their base. They will take down this inhib turret so easily. I guess they are fighting, but just stop the recall.
I mean, doesn't matter. Humble Trespass, dodge out the rock throw, keep on dashing, throw in the scythe.
No one saw the
Splyce
flash.
are getting reaped. 39:45 on the clock. There are no members left to defend this base right now. Splyce, sayonara to these guys because the Unicorns of Love, they are still gunning for that first place spot in playoffs, and they have made one big statement here in game number 1 as they pile on the Nexus and take the series up 1-0.
In the most classic Unicorns of Love way ever. Fall behind early, it looks rough, Ueda carries a bit behind, and then it becomes just team fights in the mid lane over and over. Splyce had a few times where they want to try and push a side lane, and then they step forward in the mid lane with the remaining members against Unicorns. Instantly they get engaged on. Fight suddenly going in favor of the Unicorns of Love. Xerxes got into his late game. Samax actually picked up some items, and people thought I was joking when I said the flanking twitch. No, the flanking twitch is real. It happened multiple times in this game.
You know what I want to see? Since we have introduced a new damage stat, of course, damage rating, you can check that one out on YouTube, wink wink. I want to see who was a better damage rating, the Cho'Gath this game or the Twitch? Because I feel like it's both comfort picks for both those carries.
It took a while for Samax to deal the serious.
That is true. We only got to 40 minutes, not that 53 minutes perfect macro game that we were told.
And I think the Cho'Gath was basically involved in almost everything. And
yeah, despite having all the defensive items and an Iron Elixir.
It paid off for Unicorns of Love to play around Visachachi in the early game. He entered every fight and was, of course, because he's a Cho'Gath who's gotten out of laning phase, super impactful. And Splyce, we'll look at this game, and they had a clear plan of like running this to Lear, try and punish the bottom lane early game, and then obviously get a big tower advantage, and then suddenly Unicorns would be pushed far back on the map, and Talia could just really take over the game. That quickly became just mid-lane team fights, and that is just the one thing you shouldn't do against this team who's building a pure team fighting comp.
And you know that is exactly what they're going to do any game, anytime, anyways, so... I mean, it's hard for Splyce. They just, in the moments, it was difficult to get the right targets, and then it just started snowballing out of control.
Exactly. They definitely had chances to actually win some of the early fights, but then one guy was missing, or one guy got caught out, and then suddenly Unicorns of Love just runs, over them in the mid lane.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of running over them, Unicorns of Love trampled Splyce down in a close game 1. So let's head over to Dracos and the boys for the full story.
I think my favorite thing, Pyra, is how Deficio said this is the classic Unicorns of Love game. Fall behind early, group mid, team fight your way out of any deficit that may have occurred. But the early game, despite the early invades from Xerxes, shutting down a little bit of the Gragas jungle, the early game felt so good for Splyce. What was the big issue when it came to transitioning that into something else? Who you pick? Hussein. I don't know. We'll start with Hussein.
I think, one, against Unicorns, you always have to be very careful in terms of understanding that they're a really good ARAM team, and if you don't respect the fact that they're not catching side waves, then they can always, and they quite often do, find picks in mid lane. And so they were able to like find a few picks that they probably shouldn't. And along with that, I think it helps when Cersei finds a random Baron steal.
Yeah, okay, jumping over into the Baron absolutely helps. I think you look at the likes of the LeBlanc that's on here, Unicorns are able still to transition these individual picks into kind of making Splyce do nothing for a while. And I think that's one of the most difficult things that Splyce have to overcome is there's segments where Unicorns push forward, put down 4 or 5 pink wards and go, okay, well, unless you walk into us one after the other, we're not doing anything, you're not doing anything. And at some point, we're going to find a fight that we like and we'll actually take it against you. And that's what Unicorns have done very well, which is kind of difficult to play up against.
Yeah, and I want to take a look at the early tower dives that Splyce was able to pull off around the bottom lane, and specifically, Max, so I want to know about your impression of Trashy's play this game in the early to mid game to help kind of find these leads.
I think it was pretty good by Trashy to come back after that double blue buff steal and the golem, and he just contested his raptors and contested enemy raptors, so this was great. He was able to pressure the map and help the Talia go bot side, like right here's got full vision and he goes bot and to cover for this dive at least. So he did pretty good. They got ahead early. He kind of did his job, even though he shouldn't have. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of sucks that they lost.
Yeah, this is where we were looking at Splyce to be significantly far ahead. This works out well for them. They lost only like a pick topside in exchange for this. It's a little bit frustrating that Splyce ended up giving over those individual deaths in the middle lane, because normally Splyce are very good from this point. It's those early plays that start going a little bit awry, and normally Splyce find the fights with the Gragas.
It's good you bring up these fights in the mid lane that we talk so much about when we see the Unicorns of Love, because luckily we have a replay from some fights in the mid lane. And of course, in classic Unicorns of Love fashion, the second we think one team has the game won, Hussein, you talked about it. Is this one of those, they're not catching sideways and you need to respect that situations, or were Splyce just too far in?
I mean, I think in this situation, if you just look at both lanes, I think neither team is really taking advantage of the fact that, at least in Splyce's case, they have a Talia, and I feel like they should be taking advantage of that and having more side lane pressure. But rather, it's just a 5v5 ARAM mid, and I don't think that necessarily plays to their comp.
Definitely looks like the case, and it seems like despite, I mean, maybe they should have been able to adjust from that. They just continuously went mid. What do you think is the thought process there, Maxler, when you're on that team and you're continuously forcing these fights, you're playing around this Baron? How do you react to being the team in the lead, to having a strong early game, and then having someone kind of turn it around on you in the mid game?
Well, for example, this fight that they took, I think it's kind of fine for Splyce to also group up mid, early game at least, early mid, and try to get priority this way and then go to get vision if there's a side lane they don't need to go to. And the problem with this fight is they kind of chased a Cho'Gath and used a lot of abilities to put him low, but it put Kayn in a really good position to get that 3-man knock-up, and it just completely changed the fight. So that kind of blows that the Kayn was in that position and they just, I guess, don't know how to play against Kayn. But for sure, I agree with my coach. They have Talia, they had a Gnar who wins split push at that point of the game. He loses later. So they could have utilized that more instead of grouping up mid. They could have played the game more patiently and then set up the Baron vision and either look to finish or look for a turn in a 5v4 situation.
Yeah. And of course, now I want to take a look at the final fight. There was this point in the game, and especially during this final fight, that even then I felt like Splyce had the opportunity to come back. Maybe Unicorns of Love is a little bit favored here, but Stress, looking at this one, I mean, what were your thoughts? Is this unfolded?
Well, his fight is Cho'Gath kind of walking through and buying so much time for the Twitch to just unleash this massive amount of damage. You can see Exile's already done his job. That massive burst of damage that comes from Samix is exactly what they needed. It doesn't matter where the rest of the Unicorns are at this point. You can see Wonder just getting run out of there. And I think that's the most difficult thing, is these team fights are very tough for Splyce to take. Splyce want to basically hit their big ultimates and have won a team fight, and ta-da, that's the end of it. But when you can't find that Twitch early on, when Twitch gets all of this damage down to start the fight, suddenly Unicorns are the team with a lot more options.
Well, now looking towards the series, looking at predictions, just to round things out, gentlemen, Max Lore is officially wrong. So I'm going to give you the chance now. Are you going to still say 2-1 Splyce, or are you now a sudden Unicorns of Love fan when it comes to taking this series?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on the draft, and like if Trashy can smite, I know how that feels.
Ooh, all right.
I know how that feels, so I can't like flame him too hard on that because I'm flaming myself too. But I still think Splyce, if they are able to if they are strong mentally, they can come back from this and go 2-1.
All right, 3, 2-1 predictions for Splyce, despite a fantastic turnaround from Unicorns of Love. Well, Unicorns of Love are fighting for a bye to the semifinals. We'll see if they can secure that and yank another win in this series after the break.
I think I can imagine how